You already know what you need to do. You have known for a while. You have read the books, you have watched the videos, you might have even built the plan, and you are still in the exact same place. And the reason is that it isn't that you lack discipline. It isn't that you lack motivation. It isn't that you lack the right morning routine yet. The reason is that somewhere, quietly, beneath all of it, you made perfection the metric. And perfection wasn't about standards. It was always about one thing: making sure that when pressure arrived, it couldn't expose you. Perfectionism isn't a high standard. It is fear wearing the mask of one. Here is what is actually happening at the operating system level when you stop before it compounds. Your brain has downloaded the belief that failure is not just an event. It is an identity verdict. So when a task gets hard, when your results don't show up like they should, when adversity pops up, your prefrontal cortex, the part that is responsible for rational decision making, completely checks out and goes offline. And your amygdala, the brain's threat detection system, starts firing at all cylinders like your life is at stake. Not because the task itself is dangerous. Let's get that out the way. It's because your nervous system, whenever it sees itself as being inadequate, it puts it on the same level as immediate danger. And here is the part that most content will never tell you. Fear of failure and fear of success are not opposites. Both are your ego rushing to not be seen in an unfinished state. Because pressure reveals identity, and the identity it might reveal is one you have not made peace with yet. You don't fear failure. You fear being seen failing. Those are not the same. And I want to name something before we go further. For the man watching, you are not lazy. You are not incapable. You are not fundamentally broken. You are a man where your nervous system somewhere, somehow learned that your value is conditional, that it only depended on an outcome, that who he was only as good as what he last produced. So you built a protection system, and that system is perfectionism. And that perfectionism built a buffer between intention and action, where nothing can go wrong because nothing is actually happening. The vision stays vivid. The plan stays detailed. The man stays safe and small, and exactly where he was 12 months ago. The buffer between intention and action is not planning. It is protection, and it is quietly ruining everything. Therefore, the problem was never motivation. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are very unreliable. The problem is the operating system running underneath the motivation. And until that gets addressed, no accountability partner, no vision board, no morning routine will ever compound into anything real. So now that's out the way, let's get into the nitty-gritty of what is holding you back. Here is what motivational content is happening at the neurological level that nobody in the space wants you to know. Whenever you do watch motivational content, you get a small dopamine release. Your brain feels like it's actually moving forward without any movement occurring. And since your nervous system registers this and it feels like forward motion, you don't have the urgency to actually move forward like you're supposed to. Motivational culture is not giving you the place to move and act. All it is doing is just giving you that hit to feel like you're doing something with your life. Darren Hardy, for those who don't know, wrote The Compound Effect, where small, consistent actions over time send you into massive results. And for the book, it is correct. But here's what the book doesn't tell you. Because at the end of the day, there's men who intellectually understand the compound effect, but yet cannot access it. The reason is, for the compound effect, it requires repetition over perfection. And the man who is running off of perfectionism cannot show up for that because it requires him to be imperfect. repeatedly in public, and his nervous system is built for that exact thing to never come to fruition. And here's the stakes that nobody really talks about, because the compound effect works in both directions. Positive compounding, it builds slowly, quietly, but then explosively. But negative compounding destroys quietly. Neglecting your purpose or your career development over 6 times seems small each time you do it. Ignoring your health and fitness feels manageable in the moment, like you can easily bounce back. Prioritizing external validation over your self-development seems fine at the moment until you look up 5 years later and your results are speaking. And I'm telling you, you are not going to be happy with what they are saying to you. The most dangerous features of negative compounding is that the results, the effects, the consequences don't show up immediately. Bad habits in the moment feel harmless, and the feedback loop that would usually correct this doesn't fire at that moment. And therefore, the man drifts quietly, comfortably, straying further away from the man that he visualizes himself as. Perfectionism is the mechanism. Motivation culture is the enabler. And between these two, and between the two of them, they have kept way more capable men stuck than any external obstacle could. Negative compounding doesn't just announce itself. It shows up 5 years later when the work has already been done. But here's where this becomes actionable, because the operating system can be rewired, not through more motivation, through 3 specific perception flips that change how your nervous system is actually measuring. Before the framework, you need these 3 things in how you are actually going to see this. Because if these 3 perceptions don't change, then this operating system, this framework is just going to be another thing that perfection is going to sabotage. Flip number 1, going from am I good enough to am I showing up? Stop viewing these tasks as a measure of your worth. Look at them as small administrative boxes that you need to check. Your worth is not on the table every time you sit down to work. Flip number 2, from flawless execution to volume collection. Perfection is a metric based off of ego. Volume and repetition are metrics based on reality. Your goal is not praise. Your goal is reps. Flip number 3, from outcome dependency to process devotion. You do not control whether the business succeeds. You do not control how people act. You only control the input. And the man who masters input eventually stops being surprised by the output. Therefore, with those 3 flips in place, here's the framework that implements and actually builds the compound effect from the inside out. From 3 flips to 3 pillars. And the reason why they are pillars and not steps is because they all operate simultaneously. You do not finish one in order to get to the next. Darren Hardy gave us the compound effect. The principle is sound. Small, consistent actions, time, habits, choices, and reps. Momentum building on itself. But the reason most men can't access it isn't really covered in that book. It's covered in this framework because the compound effect is the what. This is the who. The man who actually compounds isn't just disciplined. He has built an identity that pressure cannot collapse. And that identity has 3 pillars. To understand this more, let's go to the Miro board. All right, brothers, now we're on the Miro board, so I'm not gonna waste any more time. Let's get straight into this framework because it's really gonna help you elevate yourself because it's not complicated. You are just making it complicated through seeking perfection. It's all about progression. One of my favorite sayings that I learned was, perfect is good, done is better. So let's make sure we get things done. All right, so you see the compound identity framework, right? So the first pillar is the most important because without it, the other two have no foundation. And it starts with this. Pressure reveals the identity. So what this is, simply, write this out for you guys. It is identity under pressure. Oh, actually, I should say with a U. My bad. Identity under pressure, all right? So pressure reveals identity, not builds it, reveals it, all right? Which means before you can compound, you need to know what pressure is currently revealing to you and whether you can live with that answer. Now, let's go deeper into the topic. Let's get it understood. Here's what is neurologically happening when the pressure arrives and you stop, okay? Your amygdala has flagged the difficulty as a threat to your self-image. Cortisol is going to flood your nervous system, which in turn deters you from following through. Now, your prefrontal cortex, like I'm talking about, this is responsible for your long-term thinking and rational decision-making. It partially shuts down. So quitting makes it feel like it's self-preservation, even though the perception of it is not quitting, right? And it feels rational. It feels reasonable. Hell, it may even feel mature to do so because it takes a strong man to not fall through. It's kind of backwards, isn't it? Right? So all this, it's none of these things. It is your threat detection system, right? Your monkey brain, if you want to call it, your lizard brain. It is your threat system misidentifying a moment of growth, and it treats it as a moment of danger, which is why you always revert back to your old ways. Now, the rewire starts with stillness. Kid you not. Not motivational content, not a brand new system. Check this out here, like it's shiny object syndrome. Let's get this real, all right? Stillness, because in stillness, through deliberate reflection, where it's just you and yourself, your nervous system finally gets the chance to process what pressure triggered it, and instead of immediately escaping, you have to confront it. Not just it, but yourself. This is where insight lives. This is where it changes the operating system. It's not about the information. It's about the practicality of it. So the practical implementation here is this. The next time you feel pressure and it arrives and the urges get to you and it surfaces at the top, I want you to pause, okay? Sit with it for 3 minutes, right? It feels like a long time, but it's only 3 minutes before you truly make a decision. Here is the reason why. That gap where it's between your stimulus and response is where your identity either holds or it doesn't, okay? Either way, now you know what you're working with. So within this gap, it is separating yourself from reacting and shifting into responding. This keeps you from getting into those types of shame storms, the deep self-loathing that arrives when you make a mistake, because it happens. It's gonna occur eventually, right? And it is not a part of your character. It is only your nervous system treating your ego like it's an identity. So when you fuck up, because I'll straight up say it, it treats it like that's the only version of you that is representative. And that's not the case. That's not the truth. So when I say this, the fix is not to eliminate the feeling, guys. It is to separate the event from the verdict. The mistake happened. Okay, cool. It is not a referendum on who you are. It is just data, okay? And the data is useful in the right context. Imposter syndrome is not evidence that you don't belong. It is evidence that your identity hasn't caught up with your ambition yet. The gap between where you are and where you are going is not proof of inadequacy. It's not quite that, honestly. It is just the distance you haven't covered yet. And the only way to cover that distance, truly, throughout this whole entire video, is doing the reps. Once you get comfortable in the reps, that's where the confidence starts to show through. So let me summarize this in a simple sentence that can really encapsulate what I'm talking about, all right? So, sentence. Okay, so we got that out the way. All right, pressure reveals identity. Stillness creates insight. Separate the event from the verdict. Shame is data, not a sentence, okay? Imposter syndrome is not proof you don't belong. It is proof your identity hasn't caught up with your ambition yet. Close the gap in reps. Therefore, once you understand what pressure is revealing, pillar 2 is about what you build while that identity is being founded. So let's move on. Habits as identity votes. So, Okello, what does that mean? Well, I'm here to explain, Doc. Every habit you perform is a vote for the identity you are either building or destroying. So that's the key, right? Not the big ones, the small ones, the ones that feel insignificant in the moment, because little do you know, those are the ones that compound. So let's get deeper into the psychology behind it. Now, here is the neurological mechanism behind habit formation that most people will easily skip over, and it's very easy to. Every time you perform a behavior, the neural pathway associated with that behavior slightly gets stronger. So, myelin, if you ever heard about it, I don't blame you because I learned about it recently too. It's the insulation around those neural circuits. It thickens with repetition. This is called myelination, right? And it is literally the biology of becoming. So every rep you take is not just a task completed. It is a physical change in your brain that makes the rep slightly easier the next time you come around to it. Now, this is why the 2-minute version of any goal is not laziness, because people just get it confused, right? It is neurological strategy. Strip your anchor goal down until it is so small, it feels like quite literally insulting to your intelligence. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you think I'm that stupid? Shit, right? I want you to look at it like that. And the reason is, it's not to make your goal impressive, you know? That's not the goal. The goal is to keep that neural pathway active, because an active pathway compounds over time. A dormant one doesn't. So the hidden insecurity that masks behind a tough exterior. Now, I want you guys to understand, the man who talks loudly, blase, blase, blah, all big man macho, right? But quietly avoids the reps. That man is running a simple program. If I never fully commit, then I never fully fail. Oh, and that program feels safe, and it is slowly ensuring, for one, that he never fully succeeds either, because he's gonna have to commit to something, or he commits to nothing. All right, lead by example right here, okay? It's not with grand gestures, man. It's with private reps that nobody sees, because the man who disciplines himself in private builds an identity that doesn't need to announce itself in public, because that's just who he is. It just shows what he does consistently, and what he consistently does compounds over time. You see what I mean, right? The streak is not about perfection, all right? If you miss a day, accept the imperfection. I kid you not, guys. Look, make it your #1 priority the following day to put an X on that calendar, not as a vanity reason. The reason is a critical distinction. You are not training yourself to be perfect. You are training yourself to recover, because the reason is the resilience is not the absence of failure. It's the speed of how you return back to the man you're supposed to become. Now, to encapsulate all of this together, let me just write it real quick on the Miro board. There you go. All right, simple. And line this up. A little bit of perfectionism, funny enough, in this video, okay? So every rep is a vote. Strip goals to 2 minutes. Miss a day, recover immediately. Train recovery, not perfection. Private reps build public identity, all right? Resilience is not the absence of failure. It is the speed of return. So, but pillars 1 and 2 only hold long-term if the third pillar is in place, because you can't move on without the other. Because without it, the identity you're building has no anchor outside of the results. And a man who is only feeling stable when he is winning is 1 bad month away from his complete collapse. So let's move on to pillar number 3. So this is pillar number 3, outcome independence, all right? This is very important. Like, I kid you not, very, very important. Like, I kid you not, man. Look, the most dangerous version of a motivated man is the one whose entire emotional stability depends on his results. Because results are lagging indicators. They show up late. And if your internal state is chained to an outcome you don't fully control, every dip in results is a dip in your identity. And every dip in identity makes the next rep harder to take. This is not about caring less. This is about building emotional stability that the outcome cannot move. So let's get deeper into this. All right, outcome independence is not indifference. I want you to understand this, because it is emotional stability that comes from knowing that your value as a man is not determined by whether this particular thing worked. No, it is by you controlling the input. The input is the metric. The output is the information. Now, the neurological reason behind outcome dependency is so destructive. Look, when your identity is attached to a result, your brain treats every negative outcome as a threat to yourself. Look, it floods you with cortisol. Your motivation absolutely tanks, you know? And that very act of trying again feels dangerous, because trying again means taking the risk of another verdict, the risk of knowing that you could fail again. This is why men who care the most sometimes produce the least. The caring has become a threat response instead of a proper fuel source to making sure you produce. The man whose state is regulated regardless of external circumstances is the man who keeps compounding when every single other person stops. Because he is not waiting for the outcome to tell him who he is. He already, in his heart, knows who the fuck he is. Meditation, okay? I'm gonna get into this deep because I want you guys to understand, and I'm showing with passion because compounding is so important. Meditation is the most underutilized tool for building outcome independence. The skill of being able to observe a thought, a feeling, a disappointing result, and detach yourself without becoming that result, that disappointing feeling, is exactly what outcome independence requires. Stillness leads you to insight, and insight builds the gap between stimulus and identity. Okay, guys? The man you are becoming is not defined by whether the last thing worked. Don't let yourself be determined by that. That's stupid. That's bullshit. He is defined by whether he showed up again the next day. That is the only metric that compounds without limit. So let me summarize this, and we're gonna wrap up this framework and get off of Mireboard real quick. All right, perfect. So we got all those put together. All right, let's zoom in for this one. Okay, control the inputs. Outcome is information, not identity. Emotional stability is non-negotiable. Meditate, show up again, regardless. Now, zooming out, very simple. The compound identity framework. As you see, I'll even circle this. Boom, boom. Mind my terrible penmanship, you know, but it's all good. Identity under pressure. Habits as identity votes. Outcome independence. Now, these are not three separate practices. They are three expressions of the same man, the man who compounds. The compound effect is not a productivity strategy. It is an identity strategy. And it only works for the man who has decided who he is before the results come from it. Everything in this framework activates with one move. Not a lifestyle design, not a new system. One move. Identify the anchor goal that you have been neglecting, overthinking, or stalling on. You already know what it is. You've known for a while now. Now strip it down to its 2-minute version. Shrink it so much that it's almost insulting to your intelligence. Then execute it right now. Like, not after this video, right now. The 2-minute version is not beneath you. Actually, what it is, it's neurologically precise. You are not trying to do something impressive. You are just keeping the neural pathway active. The rep is the point. The rep is the compound. And the rep starts with its 2-minute version. And if you don't start it today, then there won't be another day to start. Track your streak on a simple calendar or index card. Put an X each day that you complete that same goal. The thing is, you are creating tangible proof of your own compound interest. And the days where your motivation is low, and best believe those days are going to pop up. The streak will be the reason for you to follow through. Not feeling, it's evidence. Now, despite that, you are human. If you miss a day, accept the imperfection without going into a full-on shame storm. Once you're over that, recovering for the next day, make sure that goal is your #1 priority to complete. You are training recovery. You are training your nervous system that a single misrep is not an identity verdict. It is just a misrep. But then the streak continues. Do not wait until tomorrow morning to implement an overwhelming restyle life design. No, we're not doing that. The feeling of where, you know what, we'll start fresh on Monday. We'll start fresh in January. We'll start fresh when everything is aligned. In reality, is just perfectionism disguised as planning. And trust me, it is the most seductive version of staying stuck that has ever existed. Waiting for the perfect moment is just perfectionism giving itself permission to never begin. And if you find that even with this framework, even with the perception flips, even with this 2-minute rule, even with the streak, that you are still stopping, still finding your reasons, still protecting yourself from the reps, then what you are dealing with goes deeper than consistency. It goes into the patterns that were built long before this goal. The communication habits, the over-explaining, the need for external approval to feel stable enough just to move. And that is exactly why the next video you need to watch is last week's, the hidden reason you can't stop over-explaining yourself. The link is below. Because here is the truth that ties all of this together. Pressure doesn't build character. It reveals it. And the goal, it should be the only goal, is to become the man who knows who he is before the pressure arrives to check. Because that man doesn't stop. He doesn't need the result to confirm him. He doesn't need the streak to define him. He just keeps showing up again and again and again until the compound does what it was always going to do.